Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bravo stream here at the Charlotte Major. It is time to deep dive into this matchup. Huge apologies, of course, from all the teams here for the delay in starting the match, but we are finally ready to get it going. Thank you guys so much for your patience, and here we go into Clubhouse now between DarkZero and W7M.
It's gonna be a banger of a map. We haven't seen DZ play Clubhouse in a little bit. They've only got one play on it in recent history, a 0% win rate, obviously not successful in that attempt. But for our friends over on W7M, they have had quite a few plays on this map. One of the most played maps, and actually one of the ones that they're most influential on, unless you want to talk about Chalet, where they have 4 plays and a 75% win rate here for Clubhouse. Finka going to be banned out for our initial attacker here, as W7M will be on defense duty to start us off here. And what are we feeling for the second offensive ban?
Think a ban making perfect sense there too, but our second one also going to make just as much sense. Thatcher has been the pick of the litter for attacker bans for quite some time, going back quite a few years now, so it's not going to be any different here inside of this matchup. He'll be the final attacker knocked out, and then finally we'll see DarkZero's last ban, the first defender ban, commit just in correspondence to the Thatcher ban, so DarkZero keeping it nice and straightforward here as they knock out the Cade.
And what does that leave us with for our last ban here? It's going to be the Valkyrie. Very straightforward affair here, minus the Finka, but we've started to see her get banned more and more often. Not to the highest degree, but definitely still an operator that has so much influence over the offensive side, and you can definitely see why some teams would want to try and pull that rug out from under a bunch of different teams here, including DarkZero. I mean, this LMG meta has been going on for a little while now, and at SI 2022, it's still very prominent here at Charlotte. So getting one of those off the board, especially the one that has adrenal surges attached to it, more than likely a pretty good idea.
Yeah, we already saw even just in that last matchup too why this is such a good choice for W7M. Obviously Panba just kind of going crazy on the Finka from time to time there. Like there was a really ridiculous flick he hit against Heroic at one point during their previous match earlier this morning. So not surprising at all that they knock her out, and actually not surprising if that's almost a bit of a target ban to take some of the prowess away. But obviously the universal utility as well, just the nades, make her a good choice to ban out strategically as well.
Okay, well, W7M will be starting us off upstairs inside of CCTV. Quite plain Jane, if you ask me here. But either way, going to have some fairly straightforward changes. They were initially thinking about a Legion, but they're definitely going to need the Wamai here instead. So a good switch inside of the pick phase there for them, because Wamai is more than likely going to need to play Garage, as they'll hold this down here, apply ADSs as well as discs across the board, and make it a little bit easier for them to try and stave off all of this utility that is packed inside of the DarkZero lineup.
DarkZero, speaking of which, is out on the field for the first time and already going to be potentially running into some issues here. Volp's ready to try and pre-fire against these players should they peek out behind the van, and he does get an angle for a slight second, but he also nearly gets his head taken off in response to it. He wants to take this duel too, sprays out a good quarter or so of the magazine in the Alda before finally giving up. Hyper still thinks that he might be peeking out towards it, but obviously it's long gone, so we can go back to business as usual, opening up those breaches into the backside of the garage to start dealing with JV92's position up on the catwalk.
Indeed. It's going to be a slow boil here, though, as neither of these teams want to make a misstep early here. A lot of this utility meaning so very much the overarching story of Clubhouse, and it always starts with a hard breach here on CCTV wall. We'll bust that open. Another disc will be applied via K's here inside of the rafters, just making sure that DarkZero can't try and nade out his position. Pulling things down just for the time being here. Not too much action past that. DarkZero trying to work in this intel game. They've done a bang-up job of keeping these drones alive as well. Still have 8 on the board to be able to utilize.
He's going to continue to wait this out, maintaining this aggressive positioning and denying, more importantly, the garage presence from DZ for as long as possible. Eclipse at the same time, though, actually is able to spot him out as he's on the other end of the catwalk there, but regardless, JV92 able to actually negotiate a kill against Canadian here, knocking him out, and potentially more importantly, removing the Maverick from play. Pretty sure we've already got the balcony open, however, so his primary job for this round is done. Shouldn't necessarily need him, but the rest of this team still going to want to play into it as JV92 continues his harassment of DarkZero with the second pickup now against Hyper.
One of those discs, I do believe, capturing that frag grenade, so Kaze will be able to stave off elimination, at least for the time being. Don't know if he has any potential help, though, in the wings. NJR, speaking of the wings, will work his way down through the actual lobby area. That bar connector leading into lounge. not able to find too much there. Eclipse will actually follow suit as well, as he'll double down on this positioning. JV92 feeling his okays, deserves a shot. He'll make sure that the opposing squad doesn't get a free kill and instead remove him from play himself. Hertz is going to run out of bullets, and instead of Eclipse's initial help here, he'll actually get tagged down by the player inside of Rafters. Fantastic team play here from W7M.
And W7M, I mean specifically JV92 just going absolutely off inside of that first round. Something has ignited inside of this team, so they're going to be able to take the opening round of the game here against DarkZero and lock down that initial defense for themselves upstairs, and now be able to move into their basement hold. Important to note, too, they were originally going for a basement pick when we had that first round operator select screen, but they decided to switch it up, going upstairs instead. Now they'll make a return back down into the basement and look to continue to maintain this lead versus DZ. For those, of course, who weren't watching the stream yesterday or didn't manage to catch this particular match, these two teams already played each other, and it went to the really bitter end of it, but W7M was able to get a surprise victory with 2 consecutive rounds in overtime, ending that game 8-6 on Chalet in their favor. Now, this is a much more traditional style Siege map, which, as we were talking about during our pregame segment a while ago, DarkZero's playstyle tends to favor into that pretty well, but so far things are not looking too good based on that first round's play.
I wouldn't exactly say bleak at the current moment, but definitely DarkZero needing to try and work out the kinks that they saw in the initial part of that round. Canadian getting taken out and not really having anything to do with that garage take, just throwing bodies at it and getting caught off guard, whether it be from the actual garage player or the Rafters player holding things down. Volps will be looking out towards Pound to try and catch some people off guard here, potentially. Nothing really happening for him just yet. Always got to worry about somebody swinging off of those cages outside, and luckily enough, you can actually end up sending some bullets through those railings, but they will indeed catch them, just like any traditional railing in Siege, so you could get caught off guard and end up thinking you tapped somebody's head, but instead you just hit a bar outside. Happens a decent amount, but honestly, you don't see too many hot peaks out of that area. Eclipse is going to swing back into the angle. Volps is thinking about the hop initially there, just for a split second to try and confirm, because he definitely knows he tagged Eclipse, but would have been a little bit too aggressive here early on.
Hertz swinging out from the inside of stock and nearly loses his life as a result of it, able to get some damage returned onto it. Big play from Keys, though, walks right up and knocks out NJR. NJR even scoped into that too, and another one gonna show up from Keys as he's able to knock out Canadian as well from down below. Going huge right now for W7M as they're shutting out every attempt from DarkZero to work their way into the map.
And now we're starting to see the reason that W7M is so good up against DarkZero, the firepower. DarkZero can't fight back against it. W7M constantly finding these ones, and they haven't cleared the map.
Eclipse literally running. Literally running away.
Oh my, this is asinine at the current moment. DarkZero can't gather map control. They're dead on entry every single time. And W7M, I mean, and before I say this is not a bad term, but they're kind of playing this like a ranked game at the current moment. It's a million peaks from a million different windows. DarkZero, their head is spinning at the current moment.
And they're just ready, W7M, for every single move that DarkZero throws at them, specifically the play from below the Logic hatch. We're probably going to see it here on replay in a second. First kill, beautiful. His opponent was already pre-firing on him. Second one was an attempt to refrag it, but is even able to renegotiate that kill as well. And a bit of a bold play to even try to take him down from down below on the bars. Player on top is usually going to have the easier time winning that gunfight. So once again, W7M take further advantage in that round as a result of that, and things continue to get bleaker and bleaker as DZ tries to push their way towards the inside of blue at the end of the round.
Yes, indeed. But now for DarkZero, they're going to need a very serious switch here. It's going to start off by NJR and Hyper actually switching operators, moving from the Sledge to the Buck for NJR, and Hyper will pick up Sledge past the Yana. So have some extra soft breach here, and in a site like this will actually bode quite well. Not only are they going to have extra frag grenades with the Sledge coming in here for Hyper, well, that'll actually be their only set, but they'll also have the Skeleton Key here for NJR to influence a lot of the vertical play from underneath and potentially catch a few of these W7M players off guard in certain positions around, say, cache or inside of the actual master bedroom.
So W7M on a bit of a rampage right now, looking to go for the three-peat here, but Volps, that'll be a little too bold.
My God,
hopped
man.
out from the main stairs window, I had to guess.
Yeah, tell me this isn't a ranked game, by the way, please. Please tell me.
Volps just going full aggro with that move there, a little bit too bold, as he's caught fairly quickly, not even able to get any damage onto the members of DarkZero. So, all right, W7M, you got to cool this off just a tad now, but as I say that, he gets ready to make yet another swing. Unfortunately,
Eclipse is pre-firing the breach. This is what I'm saying. Like, they're completely unhinged at the current moment. W7M have no regard for their own self-care, self-security. Like, it doesn't matter. Just throw it at them and hope that it sticks, and it definitely is in the current moment. DarkZero, they're discombobulated.
So at the moment, DZ do have the advantage, but they're so scared to make the wrong move, it seems. And I mean, look at this. Key's still trying to line up for anybody who may hop off over towards the side roof angles there to be able to get some serious damage going on to the players that are going to try to make entry through the window. Obviously, you guys can see the big focus at the moment is going to be from Jacuzzi's side. NJR getting some intel onto a player, but unfortunately long gone by the time he's actually ready to fire in for those shots there. So we'll switch our POV around a little bit, continue to see what the formula looks like for W7M as they try to resist this incursion from DarkZero that's going to be coming in over the next few moments. And they're ready to make that pressure push, but keep in mind, still a little over a minute to play, and since W7M is the one throwing most of the aggression out right now, DarkZero can truly take their time with this play if they really want to.
And they surely will. We've seen it time and time again from DarkZero when they do get their advantages. They always lean back into the info game and try and see exactly what they can get done with the remaining members of W7M or any team when it comes to their defensive setup, and it looks like they're trying to confirm more of that now. Again, with NJR on the buck, this is going to be a really, really strong play for them. Some nice shots from Hyper, but you can say the same for Keys, traded back and forth, and actually Keys trading out positive inside of that situation. A fantastic shot from Eclipse. He's now understanding exactly what aggression W7M are going to throw at them, and so does the rest of DarkZero as they simply dismantle W7M. JV92 will hop outside, but he's going to get caught more than likely here in a couple of seconds as they got that hopping outside. Nice shot from him. Knows one's got a drop, but it's going to be Canadian with the prone angle to take out JV92, and DarkZero will finally get around.
DarkZero on the board with that slow play, and of course, building off of the wild hop out that we see at the beginning of the round from W7M there, able to quickly reroute themselves away from that error and try to come back into it, but ultimately just don't have the numbers to continue fighting in so aggressively there. So DarkZero just whittles their opponents down to a single player, where JV92 is able to get that very nice opening shot in his clutch attempt, but it's nowhere near enough to push them further. We are going to go into a tech pause real quick here, it looks like. As a player does have a sound bug, so we'll give them the time they need to quickly correct that.
Much better round there from DarkZero, but W7M gave them exactly what they wanted, like straight up on a silver platter. Ran outside, initial frag goes to DZ, and they just play calmly for the rest of the round. They don't need to oversell or really do anything that would be overzealous, and it works out extremely well for them. They don't try and challenge the master balcony. They know that somebody's over inside of garage. They just simply work the area of the map that they have control of, have some very serious cutoffs on the mid floor as well as the basement, just in case somebody does try and make some moves there. They've got coverage for that. Like, if the Rooney ever wants to try and rotate across and do anything on that floor. So it was just fantastic coverage across the board from DarkZero that led into a great execution.
Yeah, absolutely the case. So DZ finally getting that solid footing going, but at the same time, W7M are going to learn their lesson from what went down there. And not only that, but they now get to return to the previously won site, starting out with CCTV and Cash on this round and Basement on the following round for number 5. DZ have still a lot of moves to correct here. And for W7M, like I said, they can cool off this aggression. They can play into a more standard style of defensive play, but they don't necessarily need to. The aggression they've been throwing out has truly been working, and I'm fearful for DZ's sake that once again they're going to struggle to try to work their way in on these upcoming rounds. W7M just biting off a little bit more than they can chew in that previous one, but it's a quick correction for them, as I believe we are close to having a solution to their issue. We should be going back in game momentarily. You guys saw our admin squad working on swapping out the headset, so I think we are pretty close.
Yes, indeed. Get things fixed up here, and we'll be right back into Clubhouse momentarily, but it's already been an action-packed set here. We're only 3 rounds into our first half. DarkZero caught completely off guard by W7M's initial aggression in, well, the first 2 rounds. I mean, it was really, really a gun show for them. DarkZero not capable of doing much, only getting a kill there or 2, just stopping the flawless round, more or less. And past that, not really too much going into their favor. W7M constantly catching them off guard, and maintaining a lot of map control. We saw that particularly in their basement defense, where we saw the Mute actually drop down via the stock hatch and take out Eclipse as the very last kill as he tried to run back up secret stairs. And as we'd said before, discombobulated was what DZ was, but W7M, they've let them back in. They opened the window with that initial hop out off the main stairs and trying to challenge, I do believe, NJR over there, but immediately losing out on the gunfight as, well, the run-out timer has been nerfed for a little while now, John. It's not nearly as long as it used to be, and it makes it to where being outside of the building on defense is not nearly as potent.
Folks, well, obviously you can see it now. We are back in game, so quick resolution there. W7M primed and ready to potentially try and pick up another round for themselves here on the CCTV and cash defense. For DarkZero, quite a few remixes coming in terms of what they're going to be picking into, but it's not anything like earth-shattering what they're changing around. It's mostly just some thematic changes here. Still the same general formula, just the way that they're getting to the end result is going to be a bit different here. Regardless, it's not looking like W7M are really cooling off the aggression at all here. Volp's immediately going for a run out, but nothing on the other side of it. Nothing, of course, to gain or lose here with his play. Not the only one that's lined up towards it, though. You guys can see it here already. We've got Herds in a position where he's going to potentially try and line up this Nitro cell against Eclipse or anyone else that will try to go up the Repel, but Eclipse seems to have some inkling that this could happen as he's going for the Repel on the side instead.
A lot of different ways that could end up breaking down with that window open, and for DarkZero, they have to be a little scared, especially since Hyper's the one with the Claymores, and that's more than likely why he's moving over to this area right now. Herds is going to be on the stairwell. Hyper trying to see exactly what he can get done here. He'll get that Claymore down. Herds will be able to destroy it, given the circumstances. I do believe, in fact, yes, indeed, that is so unbelievably troll, Hyper. He put 2 Claymores, same side. So when he jumps out that window, it's going to be both of them back to back. If you get one, well, the second one's probably going to come through. So very well done there from DarkZero. And past that, they'll get the initial pick onto Keys.
Nicely done there in order to knock him out. Seems to have like kind of just found him by circumstance too.
Oh yeah, he straight up swung the breach.
Yep,
it wasn't by circumstance. He was like, I'm gonna kill Hyper, and then died.
And then Hyper immediately had the headshot lined up for it. First, Selma, as you can see, they're gonna get eaten up by one of the magnets. So Volp's got the intel, but he doesn't have the shots necessarily. Some damage going on to Hyper, but way more going on to him. He'll be thrusted back into construction as a result of that. The magnet's continuing to eat up utility. Those we see another one working its way in. Panva, bit of an awkward creep. Obviously, guys, that's the Gemini. It's not actually Panva.
He wishes it was him right now. He's
definitely
like,
wishes he actually went in right now.
So I could have just walked up the staircase the whole time?
The best part, though, was unless he got the audio cue of it fading away, he didn't know he was up there. But I think he probably heard it fading away because it makes that like very digital sound when it goes.
Yeah, very futuristic.
Yeah.
I live on the
I don't really know what to
moon.
describe it as other than that. But.
Yeah, it's like watching Blade Runner. That's what it's like. But either way, looks like some time will continue to be delayed here for W7M, but really it's just DarkZero trying to grasp a hold of exactly what they need to do in order to pick apart this defensive setup, like we've seen time and time again from them, especially today. But what a shot there from Herds. Can he follow through yet again, though? These mechanics being shown off by tenfold here as he gets away. NJR will be traded, but actually it's NJR to take down 2. Herds will down Canadian. That gets picked up, but then he's immediately dusted as well. They try to fend off DarkZero, but the patience works out handedly for them, and they'll be able to tie things up here.
So the initial success from W7M fading away here after those first 2 rounds. DZ needing a little bit to catch on to how to capture this aggression and really limit its capability, especially in these more claustrophobic sites. But it seems like they've gotten themselves on a pretty good footing to be managing that. And now have been able to, as Stokes mentioned, tie things up at 2-2, as W7M will not retry that. They feel it was too one-sided to warrant another attempt at the upstairs hold. So it's back down to the basement where they had arguably an even more one-sided round in their favor. So I can very easily agree with this choice.
Yeah, W7M have been practically pure electricity this entire time, but now that DarkZero, especially with those first 2 rounds, they've been capable of catching lightning in a bottle. That's really what they've been doing, is just holding them back, making sure that they're not making too many mistakes inside of the early game where W7M are really looking for those major picks early on that could honestly be a major detriment depending on what member of DarkZero they do pick off at any given moment. So, you just got to really play patiently and lean into that info game early to make sure that you know what you're stepping foot into. I mean, it all starts right at the beginning. As we've seen time and time again, we saw it earlier on Border, as we do all the time as well. Holding map control from the very beginning across the board has always been quite a good idea in Siege because you can delay so much time. And if you get a kill, I mean, that's even more icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely the case. So DarkZero looking to take charge of this situation, and this would be a very big deal too if we could see DarkZero carve ahead. This is still a fairly defender-sided map at the end of the day, so you expect at minimum to have that like 4-2 defender-edged halftime, generally speaking. If DarkZero can guarantee the minimum 3-3 and be able to push it potentially up to a 4-2, they're going to be sitting in a very comfortable position when we switch sides in just 2 rounds from now. But away from that, first 30 seconds of the round already gone past, and DarkZero continuing to play this relatively slowly, and once again being very cautious to make sure they don't miss any aggressive moves from W7M that could cost them a player or two inside of this first half.
Well, patience is indeed a virtue. I'm sure you guys have heard that from your parents before, and well, there you go. NJR will be able to pick one up because of that. Uses a drone and knows exactly where Keys will be swinging from and claims the initial kill for DarkZero. But do they know that Volps is inside of Rafters at the current moment? I believe we have a man on a drone and behind blue box in garage right now. Fantastic position here for Volps, but obviously, DarkZero have been very, very good with their drone game. Could have a drone sneak up here momentarily, and that's what Volps is trying to be aware of at the current moment. More than likely won't get too big of a peek here from that lower space. He's just going to play things out patiently. Sees the head, but no, it's Hyper. Actually aware of where the positioning is of that member. Going to be able to take down the Vigil. More than likely had a drone inside of the rafters that got there earlier on and was just not attainable by Volps.
Love this slower play we're getting right now from DarkZero. Much more remnant of what we're seeing versus them, and Heroic earlier on in the day here, where they're using their drones to the heaviest extent, not moving an inch forward until they're absolutely certain of player positioning. But when they are ready to move forward, it is quick and it is lethal, as we saw with these first 2 pickups here. The third, a little bit troublesome, however, and he's going to be able to win out the initial fight there. Herd's picking up his first response, knocking out Panba from DZ.
Yes, indeed. And now W7M with an opportunity here. It's going to be the basement defense as DarkZero try to build up around this. Eclipse will be in towards blue, and Oil Pit player as well to add to the pile here on the southeast side of the map. JV92 tries to make the move, almost has it. Goes for the swing again, gets one, knows one's inside of Oil Pit. He'll clean this one up with a C75. Has the case as well. He's going to burn this air jab and get up the stairwell instead. Burn the second one as well. NJR will be able to pick up Hertz in the process, though. But they know where this case is. He's going to try and sneak in behind Hyper, but Hyper has to be aware after those air jabs go off that there is a potential for him to come in behind him, and he is very aware. Yellow ping coming out, just like we said with DarkZero and these drones. W7M, you cannot get away with these cheeky plays, my friend. It's going to be GDN to try and close this one out as he's sitting inside a dark spot right now for Armory. Knows he has one around dirt, very minimal time. Nade out the swing, and Canadian will pick it up off the back of a team effort here. Fantastic clear from them. And you want to talk about coordination. Look at these last 3 rounds from DarkZero.
Yeah, that's definitely the case here. So as we saw towards the bitter end of that round, just too much for GDN to build into there inside of a 1v4. The nade forcing him out of position 2, really relying on W7M's other player to be able to make that move up on top. That was JV92 trying to go for that clutch against Hyper, but Hyper, due to the air jab placement, really fully aware of what was coming back against him, so he's able to line up a very easy pre-fire, shuts it down, and past that point, the rest of the round falls handily into DZ's play. So now the tactical timeout comes in from W7M. They need to take... Apologies, it is a technical timeout. It originally was called as a tactical timeout by them, but it has since shifted into a technical pause. I think you guys can see that there, that like second or third player from the line. Just looking at the audio issue again, I do believe, so we will allow them to quickly correct that, and we should be jumping back in game.
Shout out my man here that's quite close to the camera, though. I do believe that those are the wired Apple earphones. I'm pretty sure that is what that man is using as in-ears, which is quite impressive. I mean, but there's quite a few people that actually do that. A very famous streamer that you guys will more than likely know, Asu, I do believe uses those as well, which, I mean, Asu, you got money, man. Like, just go buy some nicer earphones.
I mean, those are easy to replace, though, is the thing, right?
That's true.
You know,
you got me there.
You can find those anywhere.
Quite reliable
you want to get
as well.
You want to get some, like, specially molded, like, $800 pair of headphones where you got to, like, they send you, like, a kit and you got to, like, put your ears into it and then send it back and then you get it 4 weeks later. You don't want that. Because it takes forever to get replaced.
John, I bought a Herman Miller chair for my office. I buy stupid stuff all the time, okay? All the time. If you guys saw my office setup at the current moment, you'd be like, Sam, why do you have this? You don't even stream. Like, what's wrong with you? But either way, we're about back in here with the technical pause. We just want to make sure that they have their audio back before we get it on your screens, and
we got it.
We're good to go. So we're back in here. Let's see if DarkZero can pull the wool over W7M's eyes once again and see if we can force them into a miscalculation.
So another hold upstairs in the gym and bedroom site will lock quite a few of the members of W7M into the site, which is not where they've found their prowess so far in this half. It has been more so on the open turf of areas like roaming around downstairs, and of course the run-outs and jump-outs that we saw in at least one circumstance too, where things were working. But the problem is DarkZero caught on to that, and their playstyle now reflects the capability to directly counter those attempts from W7M, so they've had to cool it off, and unfortunately they haven't had a whole lot to fall back on since then. So things are looking a little bit worse for wear here for the Latin American roster after initially a booming start to this game here, but they've got some interesting things still to line up. Pre-placed Nitro going to go down just below the Logi hatch, and aside from that, they've also got a lower angle to work with too, meaning that there's room for harassment from either inside of the kitchen or room to just outright deny kitchen entry pressure too, as long as they can maintain those positions.
Well, 30 seconds off the board here. DarkZero, yet again, they're going to stick to what they know best, the drone game. Already lost one for Pambazoo, but doesn't really mean that much, at least at the current moment. NJR will be sneaking inside of dirt. Always a fantastic play here on Clubhouse when it's not the armory site. A great place to try and start things off, and it's exactly what NJR will be looking for here, as you can shut down any rotation coming through secret. So if JV92 tries to do something a little drastic, then he more than likely will die. But you can see JV92 is also very aware that there's more than likely a dirt player that can come through here as well. And that's something that happens quite often in competitive play, just trying to get somebody to make that sneaky play down low, especially if you get it on proper time. You can practically eliminate a good quarter of the team if allowed. So I'll have to see what NJR is capable of at the current moment. Luckily enough, he's waited long enough that JV92 has gotten bored of playing around secret stairs. He'll be able to get rid of the drone there on top of the lounge cam, or on top of the lounge sign rather. To get rid of that, kind of a cheeky cam there, but either way, Canadian, since that drone has been destroyed, him and NJR will begin pinching this out. Just waiting for NJR to move a little bit more forward ahead. You can see Canadians trying to play the cover outside as Jaeger's going to run back into garage, but they have no idea that NJR is here, and that's going to be a freebie for him as the magazine was almost out of JV92's gun, but only able to get a couple bullets off before he has his head removed. DarkZero find their pick finally at 1:15, but now at 1:10, there's already 2 dead bodies, John, and DarkZero are looking to take this 4-2 lead.
DarkZero in charge of the situation. But Keys, man, these swings are so impressive when they work out for him. Wraps himself out, is able to knock down the player. Clips though, hiding behind the jacuzzi, gets revenge, but he can't trace the Nitro quickly enough. Kays is able to get it in his face, knock him down, and bring it over towards Kays and GDN. Trying to clutch this one out now in the 2v3. GDN trying to see if there's anyone maybe lurking around the construction wall entry that they'd breached open a good minute or two ago, but instead actually has another opportunity to frag out on the rappel. I'm curious to see if he noticed. He's certainly waiting for it to come his way. Look at how small of a pixel he's popped out here as well. Trying to see if maybe he can bait that member of DZ into it, but they're not taking it here. They know how tense this is going to be. They want to play this much more safely, but they can't really afford to when you look at the clock. Only 20 seconds left for DZ to win out this remaining 3v2.
Absolutely the case, my friend, and somebody has to give. We'll have to see which individual it is. Keys, very pivotal position, able to get one, possibly the second, but no, the pistol can't get it done. Hyper will lock down that following frag in round 6. We'll go in the back pocket of DarkZero. It's going to be a 4-2 lead going into their defensive side.
So an incredibly solid opening half from DZ, pulling that off not only in their favor to 4-2, but from the attacking perspective as well. Only need to complete one site rotation now, and DarkZero will have this match in their pocket and be able to get revenge from yesterday's game on Chalet, where they fell just short inside of overtime there and dropped that game 6-8. This one looking a little bit different so far, as DZ does seem to have control of things. I'll take a look at our replays too from inside of it and show you just how crazy some of these peaks were. In that last round alone there, K's trying to go absolutely mental of every single member of DZ, but unfortunately just asked to do a little bit too much inside of that round, so unable to accomplish it. Into the fold now for the second half, and DZ initially are going to start out with a basement defense here. No surprises necessarily on the operator picks. It is interesting, of course, that we get the Goyo out from Canadian. Keep in mind, of course, Goyo has had a pretty massive change in the past few months, that the shields no longer exist, but it was a bit of a horizontal change, because most people consider that a nerf. You guys just saw his new capability go down onto the wall there. They're now individual canisters, but they last like twice as long as they used to. So
do we tell him that's a little bit more lateral than initially?
Like I said, a horizontal change is what I would describe that as. And in some people's opinion, it's a buff. So
yeah, you know, it forces Goyo to be played in a completely different way, but that's the way that Ubisoft saw him as a character initially. not as, hey, you get 2 free shields you get to play off of on one character. And that's what he was utilized for a very, very long time. And past that, the Vector, crazy gun. Oh no, he didn't hear it. That's so unfortunate. Herds gets inside with a very small audio cube, but NJR is right over inside of Master to be able to claim that. Moving outside, what a shot from NJR. My God, rips the head off a GDN. And, well, Hyper, a nice shot to NJR, and, well, thank you, my friend, as we are picking apart W7M.
DarkZero in solid footing now after trading out that opening kill from Herds, where he was able to sneak his way in, as Stokes mentioned, off of the port audio queue. Then against Hyper, thankfully, quick correction and addition from NJR. He's been really firing off inside of this game. A huge saving grace for DZ inside of the more dodgy rounds, and you can see that his scoreline reflects that at 9-3 right now with a +6 coefficient. Panba, just an easy kill for him as JV92 walks in, has no idea that Panba took the position here, so he goes down, and with that, it's left up to Kays as well as Volps to clutch this one out in the 2v4, and they still have to make the descent into the basement.
I love the half nice, half mean chats that we're getting back and forth between these two teams at the current moment. Pretty feisty stuff, but either way, a grenade will go down and prevent any further movement from W7M, and as it'll pop the Goyo shield, or rather, the Goyo canister. Keys, though, start moving his way up oil pit into blue. A very solid position for him to be with this LMG, but he has to worry about quite a few different angles walking into this area. I believe we have Moto player as well as Keys. We'll be able to pick up the initial kill here and start opening the gates a little wider for the offensive unit of W7M. But where is Volps? How does he play into this to try and assist his teammate? We're going to have Keys actually work his way up oil pit safely, and what a position here from Volps. He's going to play patiently and allow his player to try and move forward. NJR, he gets so much damage from Volps, and Volps is going to let him know too, man. I don't know which game we're commentating right now, John. This is feeling more like console play than anything. Everyone's just getting pissed off with each other, but another Goyo shield, or rather Goyo canister. I'm still working on that, folks, here on the door to hold that down. This 2v2, though, still very palatable for DarkZero's. W7M has some decent damage dealt to them, but Pambazoo almost loses his head through the wall.
Pamba patiently waiting for the next swing to come in. But here's the thing, W7M have been hyper aware of these positions, and this one's going to be no exception. This is an expected rotate. Unfortunately, I believe Keys from the other side, they're just not able to rationalize wrapping his way in. Volps wanted to commit himself to the plant after wrapping through Moto, but the loss of his teammate has set that by the wayside here. He'll make one more attempt for it. The good news is he doesn't worry about a nitro cell. The bad news is he doesn't worry about players swinging him, but he's going to be allowed to go for this plant. Oh, but is immediately slapped back down to earth as soon as he goes in for it. And Panba, we've seen some fun play from both teams, so now DC's going to start returning that a little bit here as they go in for the counter defuse. Obviously plenty of time left for that, and they will continue to surge ahead now with a 5th round on the board.
God damn it, I love esports. It's just one of the most fun things to watch in the world, let me tell you. Especially when people, got some skin in the game like we have right now. I mean, quite a lot of fun. DarkZero able to build their lead yet again here. 3 rounds in a row here for them as W7M have not been able to fight back, although they've definitely been able to fight back inside of these rounds, just not able to claim them at the end of the day. DarkZero time and time again getting one over on them, and that's built them this really, really nice lead as their defensive unit continues to field. Going to be in the CCTV area this time around, so not too many crazy things happening here, but as I say that, get a better picture of what's happening across this operator lineup. We actually could have an extended hold here. We have the laser gates, we have the mute jammers as well, but also that all could just be set up for more of a turtle instead. So we'll just have to see what DarkZero want to do with the remainder of their prep phase and the positioning initially of these DZ members.
Still time for DZ to build up into this here, and we're obviously just throwing down the early laser gates to be able to block off these access points, eat up a bit more of that utility, and with Wamai stacked on top of that, hopefully remove most of the threat from W7M's 3 sets of grenades that they've brought into the fold here. But with 3 flashes, they can also work their way past at least the 3 laser gates and hopefully be able to dodge their way around the magnets. Aside from that, though, once again, no huge surprises in that department, and it's going to be a slow waiting game here for W7M to open up enough territory to be able to get themselves close to the site.
JV92, one of my favorite angles here on Clubhouse, a very cheeky one, John. Anybody walks in there and gonna be an ankle biter via that door. take him down, and Herd's actually getting some damage dealt to him. A nade in here as he's actually going to get down into Secret. They've bodied Pambazoo. Will drone out Secret yet again here, try and nade in for stock, but actually going to try and nade higher and see if they can potentially kill anybody upstairs behind the bomb chassis. But obviously not a single member of DarkZero in that area, and NJR already is very aware of this situation. He's backed off to play this deployable shield inside of construction. Canadian's got the counter angle down low. Anybody walks inside of stock, they die. JV92, though, in that time, will be able to get the wall open for W7M. We'll open up some new lines of sight as well for the repelled player to potentially kill anybody trying to swing from cash.
For W7M, with that opening being made for themselves, they'll have much greater proclivity to work their way into the site here. As you see them committing themselves up onto these repels a bit more and looking for other options, most notably over on the other side. We can see Volps trying to open up the window for himself. But NCR, again, aware of this, immediately firing shots back as soon as the pressure boils out. Canadian also flirting with a potential run out here. He's going to go for it. This is risky because they'll get the alert, but regardless, he's able to get the kill against Keys and knock him down.
Well, he's going to get immediately traded, but honestly, not the worst thing in the world. Keys has been a heck of a gamer here throughout this series thus far, so be able to get him off the board is definitely going to be a point of success for DarkZero. They'll also pick up JV92 and equalize some damage downstairs. Volps is going to actually get some damage dealt to him, and NJR, go off, my friend, but he won't be able to catch the tail end. Eclipse gets shut down on Cash. Hertz is going to make the tiniest hole ever with that Cone 6.
I don't think it goes all the way through.
Yeah, it actually did not. It only got the top layer there. It's a little bit too far for the Gone's explosive radius, and now have the Gemini come down low. NJR will be able to get rid of that watery position from him as well. Herds, though, more than likely hearing those steps and knows that he's probably in this area. A fast move here from him, but NJR, they were talking about earlier how W7M were on this online play. This time it's going to be an abuse from him inside a Secret. He swings it fast, and he'll take down W7M to push DarkZero to map point.
And this is just continuation from NJR in terms of what we were already seeing in the first half, saving the team in quite a few rounds, picking up some very important mid-round trades, and now he's just taking full control of things on the defense as he has the freedom of movement and the freedom of control due to starting out inside the building here. Beautiful play from him. Mastery of these situations. And now DarkZero up on match point. They have 4 opportunities to close this one down. Honorable mention there for Canadian's play to run it out, even though he gets pretty much immediately exchanged out. Still kind of ruffles the feathers of W7M a little bit here and puts them into a awkward scenario. Away from that, taking a look now at what W7M is going to try to approach towards. They did have a line picked into this initially for JV92, but JV92 has been another one of the players who's been looking to frag out to a pretty big extent alongside him, Herds, as well as Keys. So he's going to end up switching away from that. Not too much confidence in the utility that Lion will provide here, and instead bring the Yana, the kind of expected aggressive operator that's fairly popular in the current meta.
Yes, indeed, and hopefully they'll be able to get some more traction out of this off than they did the last time around. Yes, they got it down to the 1 versus 1, but NJR has been good for those time and time again. 12-4 currently for NJR. Heck of a rating after this game for sure. But, I mean, this team is looking quite solid right now for DZ's sake. Everybody able to do some heavy lifting in their own regard and make things a lot easier for them on both sides of the coin. Also, some fantastic reads from the IGL here, Canadian, as he's been able to really assist the team in what they've been able to do, especially on that offensive side, picking W7M to pieces in a lot of different instances.
Let's see how DarkZero will try and, nicely done. Canadians successfully bandit tricks the first exothermic away from W7M as well. It didn't even look like they were expecting there to be a bandit inside of this situation either. He plops down the exo charge and then literally starts casually walking away, doesn't try to immediately explode it, and just half a second later, Canadian's battery goes down on the ground. Pretty sure it has been corrected with the second exo to be able to open up the wall, but unfortunately they won't have any further ones. The good news is against this style of attack, they don't necessarily need one. And look at this, the frag's just broiling in. In fact, Volps kills Keys with his own nade there, but it shouldn't matter too much as W7M still have so much control over the situation with the entries they were able to make. It's down to NJR and Hyper inside of the 2v4, and both of them are already incredibly low. The plant going down. Here comes the wrap from NJR, but he might not be able to make this reinsertion. He tries to go for the headshot against Herds, but instead it's him that gets the kill. Hyper now left alone, and he's forced out into the open by Volps' second nade. Makes up for that team kill earlier and shuts down the round with his final one.
That nade was so precise that it hit him in the shin. That was actually pretty impressive there from W7M, as they will pick to pieces DarkZero's defensive setup for gym and bedroom, being making a very valiant effort over on the Jacuzzi side, eventually getting that plant down and forcing DarkZero back into construction, where they really didn't have a snowball's chance in hell to be able to bring that one back unless they won some very, very proclivity matchups. But not able to do it just yet. But for W7M, it's still a long road ahead of them as well for their road to redemption, as they need 3 more rounds on top of what they just accomplished in order to just make it to overtime.
This is a very familiar situation right now for DarkZero. They had almost the same exact thing thrown at them when they played Heroic earlier today, where they take this massive lead. I think it was 4-2, or 6-2 rather, as well. They ended up leading the scoreboard towards. So rerunning history here on a slightly different map as they play their first map today on Border, this time on Clubhouse. A little bit more real estate to play with, obviously, but the same scenario here. Just need to figure out what's going wrong in the moment-to-moment action, find a way to correct course, and lock down that one single round. And thankfully, they're on the defensive side of Clubhouse. So worst case, this happens. They just wait for the basement site to unlock, or the second floor hold and cache in CCTV, and fall back upon that, as they've already found success in both of those sites here. Quite an extension going to be made for DarkZero. It does look like we're going to have 2 to 3 players roaming around and maintaining upstairs prowess against W7M's initial clear here to try and slow them down too, because they've been no strangers to taking these early challenges. So let's see if taking the fight directly to them is going to be the direct choice for DZ.
Yes, indeed. And here we go. DarkZero. Can they secure the deal here inside of round 10? It's going to be that Armory Lockers defense here. Downstairs, rather, Church Lockers defense here. And we'll see what DarkZero can do with this roam game. W7M hasn't been too forceful initially here just yet. Just starting to open up some doors, and especially around the kitchen space as of right now. Eclipse now working in via bar, but nobody home inside of the actual kitchen just yet. Only have that outside player for the time being. And past that, it's quiet on all corners except for some shots being sent off. And finally, Herds will be the first one to move in for W7M. Eclipse will be on the other side of the wall, could get caught off guard at any moment in time. Eclipse will pick up JV92, but now Herds, he's worked his way all the way downstairs into the actual site, and he's done it completely undetected. There's a mirror there, but there's also a dead Canadian on that mirror. Eclipse will end up moving his way back into billiards, and well, the mirror actually going down, rather not on the mirror. And then yet another play here from W7M. Wow. They know this entire site's open. He'll be able to get rid of that Goyo, and W7M with some very major pickups here inside of this round. DZ now have to try and battle back towards the site, but these mirror windows are actually going to play against them. Be able to pick up NJR. Hyper gets keys, but now it's into the 1 versus 3.
Hyper, familiar situation put before him, but he's going to be left alone. The plant going down still, so he's going to be given a bit of bonus time to play into this. The pre-fire reveals his position, though, and is way off base, so already going to take a shot from Herds as he's able to creep out and throw some back against him. Hyper, with no real method to really get himself back down here, would not be surprised if he kind of backs away from this one and just lets the talk go in, but no, one more hop over the top rope, trying to get himself down into the basement. It does not work out. Herds very much ready to take the challenge. Another round goes up on the board for W7M. The fallback into a safer site does not work for DZ. They will unlock CCTV and cache, by my recollection, moving into this upcoming round, so they can attempt that, but no, they seem to fall back on the basement hold for a second time now to see if that will yield results for them. We also are going to go into a pause. I am assuming that this is a DZ tactical pause.
Yes. You can always tell by the microphone.
Yep, there you go.
Every single time. I'm going to have the mic down. It's got to be a technical, or rather tactical, timeout for anyone.
Had a lot of those mixed up.
Dude, it's been same thing with W7M. Everyone's got numbers in their name, and then you have W7M on top of that. Like, I mean, there's just so much going on with this team at the current moment. But either way, they're getting closer and closer to pulling this one back. DarkZero want to try and slow things down. And as of right now, I feel like this tactical timeout is definitely warranted. Mint needs to talk to these guys. That last round especially should have more than likely went the way of DarkZero. They knew initially what was going on, but they just let one slip through the cracks. That's really what happened there. Not a single set of eyes on that kitchen area anymore after Eclipse rotates away. And I mean, honestly, we expect a little bit more out of Eclipse inside of that area. He didn't get any audio cue apparently, or anything at all. He just sat in bar and let it happen.
For how chaotic these players on W7M are playing right now, too, you absolutely cannot allow that to happen, because that is going to be abused. That is going to be used very very heavily here, and more than likely transition into multiple kills as we saw in that previous round there. So DarkZero need to make sure they patch that down, and that's probably why they've actually decided to go for such a direct reattempt on this, as it was such a small issue in hindsight that they can correct. So if that's going to be the case, still on the warpath here to a quick closeout at what will be 7-4, but they are running out of rounds to accomplish it. Only one more to go after this one, and then overtime will be triggered, and a very scary potential rerun of yesterday's scoreline is still in the cards for W7M.
Well, with that being said, 2 rounds needed for the Brazilian squad. They're going to be shifting things over to the man, the myth, the legend, the Monty. Don't get to see him all that often anymore, especially after his nerf where more explosive damage happens to him through the shield, but definitely has his place still inside of the offensive meta for certain situations like, oh, I don't know, maybe pushing blue or probably dirt, but we'll have to see here. Eclipse will be on the roam game yet again, and as you guys can already see, this is going to be a rerun of the basement. Past that, Herds, very aware this is more than likely going to be another roam game here, so they've brought the Jackal along for the ride as well, just to be able to track down any of these extended members from DarkZero.
And ready to get aggressive here. You can see him leaning in towards the window, postulating towards a hop-off. I don't think it's pre-blasted, though, so we would have still had to make those impacts there in order for that to be a possibility. So more than likely not going to be leading into that as a result of it. Volps, in the meanwhile, has gotten himself up on top of the Logi hatch. He's going to start to investigate downstairs here and will be able to spot out the position of MJR. Eclipse at the same time, he's going to be able to spot directly one of his opponents, Herds. The first to fall this time from W7M, and finally DarkZero off to a much better footing here on this defensive hold as they try to finally lock this game down for themselves.
Yes, indeed. W7M slowing things down after losing Herds, as, well, they practically have to. If they give over any other bodies, it's going to be a huge problem. Pambazoo will go down, Eclipse picks up one, and they more than likely know what's happened to this member, but Volps has been able to pick up the pieces. GDN trying to stave off any of these DarkZero members from coming over and practically killing keys at any given moment. Canadian will finally get it done and still swing from the opposite door. GDN will mark that out for Volps, but it's only going to be these two in tow with each other to try and figure this out. Now, the good news for W7M, and specifically Volps, is the fact that there is a Monty. Somebody has to pay attention to him for the entire time, because if they don't, then they're more than likely going to die, and this is going to allow Volps to get a lot done here. Big grenade out, and the pings will constantly come through. Where's the help for Canadian? Well, doesn't really need it, does he? Eclipse now in the rear, and that's going to be an easy kill for Canadian. Nitro Cell out. I do believe that is wrapped. It's a GG in the chat from DZ as they get one over on W7M finally after their loss yesterday.
And so that will mean 2 regulation wins today for DarkZero, a massive boost in points for them, and near security to try and make it through into our playoff stage. Still probably going to need to get a few more points to reach that point where they will be entirely safe, but they are certainly sitting in a very good position now with the victories they've claimed today, already at the top of their group as of their last match, and now certainly locking that in with another 3-point boost being added with this match.
Absolutely. DarkZero are looking really, really solid as of right now. I think the W7M game yesterday was a big wake-up call for them, and it's made it to where they are really, really strong at handling these aggressive teams. I mean, you and I talked about Liquid yesterday in a similar light, where it's almost like they can put a collar on the other team and get them to do what they want to do. We kind of saw that in similar gameplay here for DarkZero, where they're able to control what W7M were capable of in certain instances, but also, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, those guys are practically pure electricity. So it's really difficult sometimes to kind of shut that down, but DZ were capable in this moment.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we do come back, we'll have the breakdown for this match. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Charlotte Major. Just seeing DarkZero finish off their run for the day. You're taking a victory to start the day off versus Heroic, and now finishing it off here versus W7M. 2 straight victories, both inside of regulation, so a solid 6 points. We're back with you once again to talk about this specific matchup versus W7M, which started out in a fairly interesting fashion. I
pretty
think you could agree with me.
bombastic, you know, almost like a meteor strike, I would say. It was pretty crazy initially from W7M. They legitimately just destroyed DarkZero for the first 2 rounds, but as to be expected from DarkZero, they took their lessons and they turned them into gold as they win the game here, only giving up 2 more rounds past that throughout the remainder and claiming 7 of their own. A tactile showing of what DarkZero are capable of, not only in their strategy, but in their fragging power, as they quickly dispatch W7M past a couple of little breaks in between.
W7M, a really booming start to this matchup, as Stokes wasn't mentioning here, and just overall throughout it, moments of brilliance just with regards to the accuracy of some of these players, especially considering the circumstances too that they're playing under. Keys specifically really impressing me with some of the moves that we were getting out of him, and from time to time JV92 as well. Some absolutely ridiculous aggression that surprised me with just how well it worked in fact. But DarkZero, being the analytical team that they are, took a step back after those first 2 rounds, slowed things down to a tremendous degree, and started to isolate out these players, win the duels a lot more proficiently, and be able to actually shut these guys down. That's where we saw them take control, and unfortunately W7M didn't seem to have much else to fall back on aside from that, so DZ had majority control from that point forward. With that said though, we saw quite a few of those attacking rounds from W7M towards the end of it nearly take us towards overtime, just falling 2 rounds short, unfortunately, for accomplishing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a valiant effort put in by W7M, but did not have enough in the tank to be able to go the full distance. Instead, it's DarkZero winning in a 7-4 fashion, and it seemed like their consistency was what got them through. I mean, just looking at these kills back and forth, it was definitely not something where W7M was slouching there at all. Instead, it was, again, that strategy from DarkZero and their team play that was able to do it in the end.
Right, so once again, a great match being played there. DarkZero setting themselves as the team to beat in this group, which might be surprising to some of you folks at home. G2, I believe, also inside of this group as well, and a lot of people were expecting them to really rocket forward, and we're still going to have to see how they're able to fare, as I believe they actually might have had a match going on over on the Alpha stream, or if not, we'll definitely be seeing them play at some point later on too. So some very exciting stuff to be developing there, as I think it's going to come down to close contention between those 2 teams as this group continues on, but that will do it for the 2 of us for right now. We're going to go on a bit of a longer break, folks, and when we do return, we'll have your next match ready to rock and roll here on the Bravo stream at the Charlotte Major.